Welcome, beautiful soul family, to another episode of My Health Podcast. So incredibly excited to have our beautiful friends, Evan and Steve Strong, back with us again, our Uluru brothers. The last time, Steve, I did an interview with you, it went viral. Like within minutes, there were 20,000 views, 1,000 shares, and it just kept going from there. I'm like, who is this? Who is this earth angel that's attracting all this light and all of this energy?
Angel, I've been called a lot of things, never an angel. I'm writing to an academic today that called me quite a few things, and they're quite rude. So I'll take angel.
Take it, my love. You deserve it. And anyone who doesn't believe otherwise, well, you know, this is what this conversation is about today, the two roads. And you explain it so well, Steve. And for those who don't know, Steve and Evan are father and son team. They're absolute Aussie legends. They are archaeologists. They also run the highly popular Our Alien Ancestry, and they do have an online conference on this weekend, which I recommend everyone join. It's very inexpensive, and you really get in touch with what's happening in Australia, the archaeological side, the original people, the mystics, the psychics, the wisdom keepers. It's all there. And for anyone who is a true blue Aussie, you need to be a part of this. And of course, we've got a lot of international people that'll be tuning in now or tuning in later. And there's also a fascination from everywhere in the world, isn't there, guys, for what happens in Australia with the sacred portal of not just Uluru, but other sacred portals. So let's just have a chat, first of all, about the work that you do, if you can explain that to the people listening.
Primarily, what we do is we wait to be asked on country by elders. We never go onto someone's country because, well, I'm original and I've been given ceremony, and that's just not how it's done. So we wait to be asked on the country, and because of the fact that we don't belong to the government, we don't belong to any institution, and we're self-funded, which is a strange concept, isn't it? It gives us a different approach, because when we go onto a site, we wait for the elder to take us to the site and to give the explanation, and our job is to share that explanation. It's as simple as that. We don't go on with an agenda. We don't go on with a preconceived idea of what's taking place. In fact, when I go onto a site, if there is anything that's been done before, I go out of my way not to read it or to find out what they've got to say. Because our job really simply is this: to listen to what the elders have said. They're the keepers of the past. They're the keepers of their culture, not us, and then record it. So it's a little bit different, and I'm not having a go at mainstream academia because they have to get funding before they go somewhere. And what that means is they have to write out their conclusion before they get the funding. So in some respect, you wonder why they bother going. They already know what they're going to write, don't they?
We rarely do we ever know what the conclusion of what it's going to be. We often walk on and
we are given the conclusion, then we write the content and the questions to go with the conclusion given to us by the elders. So that's our role.
And a lot of people assume that every time we go out, we find exactly what we're after.
Oh, give me a break.
They have this romantic view of, oh, wow, look everything you found. I'm like, do you realize how many times we went looking and found nothing?
So we spent a lot of time walking around in the bush, and we see nothing. Then sometimes we see a lot, and occasionally we see virtually everything. So it's a mixture. Where we go next is never planned. We never have a plan like that. We wait to be asked.
Beautiful. And yeah, I love how you guys work, and you're very much in tune with the galactic side. Maybe you don't call it that, but I'll call it that. You're very much in tune with the stars, with your intuition. You're guided in the moment. And so that, let's call it the false light academia, wants to prove that, maybe their hypothesis is right. And then they go about writing their articles to prove something that they've conjured up in their own mind. Whereas you stay very present, very aware. Beautiful comment that's come in, how much respect you show, particularly for our original people, and they live within magic, and you both really have that quality.
Yeah, that's very important. I find it a little bit galling and a little bit disrespectful that archaeologists go onto site and they look at the rocks, but they don't look inside the rocks, and they look at things, but they don't look for the other side of this story. You've got to remember that original society is not a material society. It doesn't have massive pyramids and buildings. It has none of that. It's all about the magical, the spiritual, and the esoteric. That's what they were experts in. And that's why people from other countries around the world came here. So when our archaeologists go on site and they say they see a rock, they don't really. They know it's a rock and they see a mark there maybe, and they don't understand what the mark means, and they don't know why the mark was put there, and they don't understand it was held by elders, and that those elders, their DNA was absorbed by the rock. None of that they understand. They don't understand the magic within rocks and different things. And therefore, I always find, I'm writing back to a person about Carry-On at the moment, and it's an archaeologist and it's an academic. And they started their commentary by saying this: I took some people took me to Carry-On once, and when I got there, I laughed my head off. It was so ridiculous. I thought to myself, well done. Okay, you've gone there with a preconceived idea. It's been fed, and you've laughed at the site and think it's ridiculous. So that's really great academic research, where you go there with preconceived ideas. And the problem today is...
What about objectivity?
Oh, it doesn't exist. It honestly doesn't exist. I'm dealing with two different people on two different things at the moment, and they're both offensive, and they use insulting language, and they tend to insult people who don't agree with them. And somehow they feel they have the right to do that. And I've written to two of them today and said, where do you have the right to call someone a joker, and another one called a person a fool? I said, what gives you the right to pass judgment on other people? But they do, because they're academics, and somehow they feel, because they sat in the classroom longer and read more, that makes them more intelligent. No, what it makes them is good readers.
Probably got a good memory.
Well, it depends. Yeah, it depends if they're remembering the things they want to remember. Yeah. But when they hear things they don't want to remember, they have a shocking memory. So what are these experts? They have one skill, and I should know because I've been a teacher most of my life. The smartest people often are never in the first class. The best readers are. They're not the same thing. So that's the problem we've got. We have very good readers going onto sites where there are no words. And all the clues are not in words, they're not in sentences, they're all around them. And they're not capable of seeing them because they're bent into or locked into a book.
Well, even the Carry-On Bambara glyphs is an interesting site, because there'll be people going, oh, I'll find it. They spend the whole day trying to look for it, and they don't.
And then we've got academics that go there and say it's a load of rubbish, but they already made that decision before they got there. And that seems to be the problem that we have with mainstream academia, not just in Australia, but everywhere at the moment. I think what's happened is people feel that now we are at the peak of everything, therefore we know everything. It's sort of funny. I mean, you think about it. The best example of the stupidity of that is that we've been abused for some time now for talking about Pleiadians. We've been vilified, we've been made fun of by academics for talking about Pleiadians. Now we find out that the Pentagon and Barack Obama are telling everyone they exist. But everyone was telling us when we spoke about it, we were idiots. And who were the people who were giving most of their information about non-aliens? The Pentagon. They were saying they don't exist. Now they've given up for whatever reason, made formal declarations about the fact that they do exist. But you know what? You go to mainstream media in Australia today and you find reports of that.
I watched a little bit of news this morning. It wasn't mentioned.
It's never mentioned.
A bunch of other crap was there. Don't you worry. But
yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, guys, because that was one of the questions I had for you today. Because when I was with you in Uluru, you had a Pleiadian skull in your room. So I want to know how people can explain that one away.
Well, that's simple.
These are archaeologists, for those listening, these are legitimate archaeologists that have not just Pleiadian skulls, they have so many artifacts and can actually scientifically prove, these guys do their work. They can scientifically prove that some of the elements or some of the chemicals or the proponents of what you've got are not from this planet. It has been scientifically proved. And so now we're seeing that, yes, they're coming in with a narrative that, oh, UFOs do exist. There's been pyramid-shaped UFOs in the skies over Washington. We know they're preparing us there for malevolent ET invasion. And yet, whilst there are malevolent ETs, there are many benevolent ETs. There are many galactic star friends who look after us and who are watching out for us at this time. And we're all together. And I want to just pay kudos again to Steve and Evan, because they were really the voice for the coming together of the Magic Box opening on the 21st of December 2020 with the Grand Conjunction. Uluru had this amazing activation, this crystalline activation, and these guys literally pulled together, and I'm talking millions and millions of people across the world that tuned in and created this powerful activation through this focusing of energy. So this is why, we love you so much, and we want to keep talking to you, because we know there's detractors. We know that there's people that poo-poo not just the archaeology work, the scientific work, but now the UFO side of it, the alien side of it, or the star being side of it. But have a chat about who the benevolent aliens are and what your connection to the Pleiadians are, and also what the wisdom keepers tell us about the Pleiadians.
The wisdom keepers, we're talking about the original wisdom keepers. People need to understand something. There are 500 tribes with 500 languages, 500 different ceremonies, 500 different sets of dreaming stories, but there is one commonality throughout the whole of Australia, and that is one dreaming story. And that, to me, is the most important clue you can get. It is the story of the 7 sisters from the Pleiades coming here and Orion chasing. Now, what we find interesting is that part of the story, that the general gist of it is the same everywhere. Orion can be all sorts of things, can't he?
He can be a bit, like the spawned
lover,
romantic lover.
Yeah, he can be a rapist, he can be everything, but the women are always the same. That's the part that's really important. And what people need to understand is the story is about them coming here, and they are women. And what do women create? They create humans, beings, and that's really important we understand that. Now, what that means is that for original people, their ancestry, they've been told they come out of Africa. Well, they don't believe that at all. They don't believe that. They come out of Australia and they come out of the Pleiades. That is what they believe. That is their mythology. And original people who don't say that don't understand their mythology, and they don't understand old way. And I know some original people have actually said to us, oh, they believe in the Pleiades. We don't believe in them. We know some people have said that, to which I've said, and I've never said it to them, well, I can't believe in them. If they don't believe in the Pleiades, why should I have a conversation? So what we find is that, yes, we did a ceremony on the 21st of December. And as you know yourself, you were there at the time, up until the last minute, we had no idea if it was going to come off for all sorts of reasons. It was blocked at every conceivable level. And what some people might find hard to believe is that it was blocked from below and above. Even when we're at the site, when we're at the conference, as you would know, and a lot of people there knew, both Jetstar, which is Qantas, and the Northern Territory government conspired to create a situation where the ceremony we were going to carry out wouldn't happen, where people would be fearful, where their heads would be lost in fear and concern about threats that were made on the first day, and on the second day, none of them happened. Now, that meant that those groups were involved in I hate to say the word, but I'm going to say it. They conspired to create lies, to create fear. Now, that's what this is all about, all the way through. As you know, you were there on the day when we did our ceremony there, and that was a proper ceremony that had an impact. But Kerry, I've got to make the point, and I've said this many times, when we did that ceremony, and I was there and quite a few people were there, we could feel it worked. But when I come away from it, I remember thinking, okay, it worked. Where's the proof? Where is, because as you pointed out before, we are very strong on empirical proof. We use that as our base. And I thought to myself, how am I going to use the fact that we all felt good about it and we all sensed something, and Evan put his hand on the ground and could feel it shaking, and others felt that too, and all that stuff. But where was the proof? And it turned out the proof poured in from the very moment 7:30 was actually took place. In fact, I think on the next day we had some film up, didn't we, of what took place in Croatia, and it's poured in.
Still pouring in, really.
The evidence that proves that something amazing happened on this planet at that time when the conjunction and the solstice was taking place is really at the stage now where I don't believe you can argue against it. I mean, if you look very simply at probably the three main pieces of evidence we have that prove that something happened, starts with, most of your listeners will know what the Schumann resonance is. And for those few that don't, and I'm sure there's only two or none, we should explain it's a measurement of the vibration and the resonance of the planet, and it varies. Okay, now the Russians, the Ukrainians, they're into it big time, aren't they? They don't like talking about so much in the West, but they know what it is. Well, what we know is we got a readout from Ukrainian University through Omar, and at 7:31, it was running at around 0.3 to 0.4. And at 7:32, it was 32. It had gone up 100-fold and stayed there for the next 4 hours. That gives us a clue that 15 million people sending positive energy into this planet was received and magnified. But it doesn't actually mean that the rock was turned on. Maybe we just gave the planet a little hum, something to make it feel better. But the second piece of evidence we had, and they all came from Uluru, and there's others that came from elsewhere, was a film taken, which we've loaded and will be showing. All this will be showing in our next presentation, a film of 2 seconds. And in it, they had a video on Uluru, didn't see it, no flash behind, because for 1 second, the whole of the sky becomes white and it explodes out of Uluru, because Uluru stayed the same color. So it went outwards from and they didn't see it. And for the people who think, oh, it's a flash from behind, it's as intense in its whiteness on the edge as it is in the middle. It was the same color everywhere, and it went to the far margins, and we believe it exploded around the Earth. And that happened at 7:32. So what does it tell me now? Okay, we could have actually turned the damn thing on. But then what does that mean? It may have just been something that happened for 1.5 seconds, end of explosion. But then we got the third piece of evidence, which we've been researching on, and we're still researching on now. And it was the one I never wanted. Because, Kerry, we were told many times before there'll be a Pleiadian spaceship there. And I said, I hope not. That makes it too easy.
I'm up for it.
Yeah, I'm there. I'm part of it.
Ready,
Right, those dickheads we thought were fools. Okay, they're all right now. I'll join the team. I mean, I think
all the starships arrived, though. We saw them, didn't we?
Well, that's the point. But what we got, the film we actually got, gives the skeptic, the one that doesn't want to believe, it gives them options to opt out of it. Because you've got to be honest about it. If we've got an alien spaceship flying around Uluru at 7:32, then that really does give credence to all the other evidence we've got, because it gives us the most important part of this story. And that's this. Okay, the Pentagon said that UFOs exist. Barack Obama said it. Well, to be honest, if you did surveys around the world, around 60% of the people on this planet believe they do exist. But it never really addressed the most important question. It's okay to say they're here, but that's not the important question. The important question is always, why are they here? That is what I think is very important with that sighting. Now, we're going to show the sighting. We're going to show it basically. We do that little coverage each time we add to it. And we'll show that sighting once and we'll show it each time as we go along. And as we do, we add more to it. Now, what's interesting is the person who filmed this did an appalling job, didn't they?
Well, they
shocking job.
To be honest, they didn't even know it was
No,
there.
this is it. Because everyone wrote back and said, this is a shocking piece of work. I said, you don't get it, mate. This is different because everyone else sees a UFO and they track it. They never saw it because the sky went ballistic. As you know, it turned into all sorts of colors and we just looked at everything. No one was saying, I'm going to focus on that bit of color. You just looked everywhere. It overwhelmed your vision. The gentleman who filmed this only has one functioning eye. So for those who said, why didn't he do it? This is more important because he didn't see it. And what's beautiful is we see it moving along. Then the camera goes walkabout. And then it goes back down to the car park, doesn't it?
Yeah, you even watch another
and you see a woman
filming it,
holding this up with this stunned look in her face and thinking, that's pretty convincing. But the most convincing part was he goes back and you see it for about 3 seconds. And then he wanders off again. Then he comes back on the same alignment and it's gone. And that to me was the most convincing part of evidence there, because what happened after that is he tracked through the whole of the region and it was gone. And it was moving so slow in a straight line. The question you've got to ask is, where did it go? Because it was moving along and then we got back and it was still moving at a pace that I swear to you, if it was a plane, it would have fallen out of the ground onto the ground because it was too slow.
Yeah.
Now,
those who know, they know what you're talking about. I've got friends here from the US here, Taiwan's here, and he's sent me photos of ships that he's seen in the sky there in Tennessee. So those who are listening, they know.
But there's a difference with that, Kerry. And I'll tell you what the difference is. When you get that 5-second picture of the UFO, I've got to be honest, the impact is never lasting because you've seen so many of them and you see it for 4 or 5 seconds. You don't get a context. You don't get anything after it. And it doesn't sort of add together. What we're going to give you is why they came, which was the ceremony, the fact that they were here. And then you see in the finish there, it's making its way towards that massive blue hole in the cloud there. And then it's gone. It went up there. Now, what we've had is when we put it up the first time, Evan's gone walkabout with his bad leg, but he'll be back. When we put it up, we had all the naysayers right in. And I did that deliberately because I wanted to find out what they were going to say. So we got this. First of all, one very sarcastic gentleman said this, I can't see the UFOs behind the helicopter. And I thought, well, that was interesting. Oh, it's a helicopter. I'm thinking, okay, let's think about that. And they said they put music next to it to cover up the noise of the helicopter. But I did point out to people, there were 350 people meditating with us. We would have heard it. There were people all around watching it. They would have heard it, and no one did. But we went into more detail on this. We've now researched all of the helicopter bases. Last helicopter out, and I'm doing an interview, not in this one coming up in the next one, with both the people involved in filming this. So I'm not going to give too much away on this because they've got some amazing stories about what happened the night before. They were chosen to film this. The last helicopter out in the region was out at 4:30 and came in at 5:30. No helicopter was flying anywhere. Wow. So that one's gone. Then another person said to me, oh, it's a Cessna. Not a light plane, but it's specifically a Cessna. And if you've seen the picture, it's about 5 k's away, and it's just a blob. And there's no tail on it, no wings, but it's a Cessna. So the lady we're going to interview, she then sent us photographs of the actual pictures of what was flying in the air in the Northern Territory at that time, right? One plane, 400 k's away in the opposite direction, was flying from Melbourne to Darwin, wasn't it?
Adelaide to Darwin.
Yeah, somewhere like that. That was the only plane in the air. Now, here's another point to bear in mind. It's illegal to fly any plane helicopter or drone over Uluru. It's against the law. So what we've got is the people who said it's a helicopter. I'm sorry, they were parked from 5:30 onwards. It was not a helicopter. The people who say it was a Cessna, I'm sorry, no Cessna was flying in the air. We've checked. And we'll put up a photograph, not so much in this one, but in the next one when we have the people there to show you where that plane was in relation to Uluru. 400 k's away. This object was about 5 k's away, and it was flying over next to the rock. So what do we have there? They were there. Now, why did they come at 7:32? And once they saw the ceremony had taken place and the rocket exploded, they left. They were coming to watch this event. And that's what people have got to understand. What we can give you in our presentations is so many photographs of the most bizarre, unusual events, and all of them happened at the same time.
Yeah.
It becomes
so OurAlienAncestry.net, guys, get on it this weekend. You've got to see what Steve's talking about. Like, you have to be there. You can't miss this information.
Well, what we do this time is we'll put up all the stuff I've mentioned, we'll put up, and next time we're going to put up photographs of the actual what was in the ground, and we'll have a stat deck from the last person who got off the helicopter. We've even got to that stage. We know the names of the last people who were on the helicopter. So for those of us who think when they put up little furfies like, oh, it's a plane or a helicopter, give us a little bit of time and we'll work out exactly that you are wrong. So now we know it can't be a plane. It can't be a helicopter. It has to be one last thing. It must be an unidentified flying object, because that's exactly what it is. There is nothing else it can be called. But when you put it into context with all the other evidence we've got that happened at exactly that time around the world, and you put it into context with 15 million people meditating towards that rock, we know what it was. They were viewers from afar that are part of what's taking place over the next 2 or 3 years. And they wanted to make sure and hoped and prayed that we would have enough people to actually turn that rock on, which we did. It is on.
Yeah, and this is where I want. Yeah, it's on, and this is where I want to theme in for today about the 2 roads. But I'll just go over to Evan quickly before we get to the 2 roads, because Steve, you explain it so well. But Evan, in your own words, what would you say these beautiful star beings are here to do for us? Because I know since you're a child, you've always been in touch with these beautiful, beautiful beings.
Yeah, well, I think on the most part, they're here to give us a little bit of a jumpstart, you know. Some of their DNA is in us, so they do have a vested interest in us because we're partly them. So, yeah, I think we've come to an important time, so a little nudge from them isn't a bad thing. If we were to continue the way that we were before, there wouldn't really be a lot of time left here, environmentally.
No.
Or,
the Earth was going to clean itself one way or the other. If we didn't clean it ourselves by turning on the rock, it was going to clean itself. But the problem is, if it did clean itself, it would wipe out humanity, nearly all of it, but it will wipe out all of the other animals that live on this planet.
It'd be a bit of a worry, because the humans that probably would survive would be the ones that have the lovely underground bunkers, and, you know, do we really want the world reseeded with the same people that basically got us to this mess?
No.
Yeah, and are we talking about the reptilians here, or are we talking about the hybrid humans that have bred with the reptilians?
And we're talking about Homo sapiens that have fallen down on the way. We're talking about all different types of species, and it's important.
It's one of those multiple choice, all of the above.
All of the above, yeah.
All of the above.
Because it's
so
okay.
They're going to guarantee they're okay, whilst the good humans, you know, would have been wiped out.
But here's the point with this too. You've got to remember, there's no defining line between species in this in relation to this, because you will find there will be reptilians who will evolve with us.
Yes, absolutely.
That's the point. You've got to understand.
There's a bit of a reptilian bias out there. They're not all bad.
98% of them are. Let's not make no bones about that. Let's, as a group, but within that, there's 2% that have evolved and are actually actively working with the others to try and make this change. So we have to be careful about who we include in and out of these groups, because you've got to remember, I know this is going to sound like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but this place was made as an experiment to put all different species together from everywhere. And they chose a hominin within all the different hominins, of which there were 10 or 11 to choose from, that was the most genetically pliable, that could accept all the different incarnations and crossovers, which are human beings. That's what we got. And that's why all the different groups, the hominids, the Neanderthals, the Denisovans, Red Deer cavemen, they all died out.
I think one of our greatest strengths and weaknesses is our adaptability. So we're probably more robust in and adaptable to taking on.
We can live on a rubbish tip in the Philippines, and 50,000 people can live in a city, and we can do that. We can live. We're the most adaptable of the hominins, not the smartest. That's damn obvious to anyone that wants to look. Compare the skull of a hominid, a Neanderthal, Denisovan, or Homo heidelbergensis, and they all have larger craniums than us. And, of course, the flat-headed skull is larger than all them again. So we are not the smartest, and we have to get our head around that. Magicians we are, but not philosophers. And look around on this planet, and you can see if we were intelligent, it wouldn't be like this. So that's not what we had. But they, as aliens, because of the way this has been done, this event was created, they could never, like Evan said, they can give us a push, they can suggest, but they cannot directly interfere and say, wake up, for God's sake, make the right choice.
There's not going to be one hovering over the White House.
No.
And then,
And this is the special frequency technology that humans embody, is that we have free will. We have free will and we have emotions. So if we can harness that and use it to elevate ourselves to not only ascend, but we're also anchoring the light into this third dimensional existence. That's what we've come to do. We've come to self-actualize here in this plane of polarity. So it's absolutely exciting times. Should we make that choice? And let's talk about the two roads, Steve, the Hopi prophecy or the Hopi prophecy. What is that about? What are the next few years going to mean for us all? What choices we have in that?
Well, I think the best idea is, if we have read it before, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea for Evan to read the prophecy first, and then we can discuss what they actually said, because they talk about what they call the fast-flowing river, and really that is the important part of this equation. So, Evan, he might read to you now. His name is, I'll try and read the name for you, because you buggered it up each time when you try and read his name.
His name's not there.
Oh, is it? It's just a group.
Yeah, because they couldn't be bothered. They struggled to put it in there.
If it's your first time watching Steve and Evan, you'll pick up that they're comedians. Like this father-son routine that goes on is just...
Well, he can't read Hopi very well anyway, so we'll forgive him for that. But the rest he can read. Look, very important that you understand the Hopi in America are the keepers of the old way, and we all know that anyway, but the Cherokee, the Inuit, have all said it's going to happen in Australia, and this is what they said, Evan. Would you like to read that to them now?
Yep.
Here we go, Tanya. Evan's going to read it. Yeah, good question.
And then I'll put a link up where they can get a copy of this as well. I just thought, don't worry. As soon as I read this, I'll put a link up in the chat box for everyone.
Oh, good.
We've been telling the people that this is the 11th hour. Now we must go back and tell the people that this is the hour. And there are things to be considered. Where are you living? What are you doing? Where are your relationships? Are you in the right relation? Where is your water? Know your garden. It is time to speak your truth. Create your community, be good to each other, and do not look outside yourself for the leader. There is a river flowing now very fast. It is so great and swift that there are those who will be afraid. They will try to hold on to the shore. They'll feel torn apart and will suffer greatly. Know the river has its destination. The elders say we must let go of the shore, push off into the middle of the river, keep our eyes open and our heads above the water. And I say, see who is in there with you and celebrate. At this time in history, we are to take nothing personally, least of all ourselves. For the moment we do, our spiritual growth and journey comes to a halt. The time for the lone wolf is over. Gather yourselves. Banish the word struggle from your attitude and your vocabulary. All we do now must be done in a sacred manner and celebration. We are the ones we've been waiting for.
Isn't that just so powerful?
Well, it is, and it's actually the most prophetic line is the last line where we are the ones we're waiting for. So my point is that if you follow somebody now, and I know there's one group that's tried to regiment this into you do the ceremonies we do at the time we do, then you're on the same road as all the others, because this is now up to yourself. There is nothing that can be done for anyone but yourself in this equation. What you can do, and we suggest you do, is to see dream, to tell others about what's going on, but don't place an expectation in that. Don't expect that as soon as they listen to you, they're going to say, yes, I'm going to follow this. That's not your role. This is for each person to pick where they want to go. Now, our understanding is, as this earth starts to vibrate, and the Schumann resonance has gone up further and further, and it will continue to do so, it will reach a stage in the future where it kicks in, where many, and I mean most of the people on this planet, will not be able to exist. The planet will be reverberating at such a high refined frequency, their coarser souls will not flourish and they will die. And what will actually take place is, at that moment, and I don't understand the science of this, but everything else has come out the way it's supposed to, at that moment, their body and souls will leave this planet. Now, I don't want people to say they're going to hell, because that's rubbish. We never said that. What I've got to make this point. There's going to be a cutoff point. I think it's around somewhere between 8 to 10% of the population will evolve and the rest won't. But my question is, what happened to the person who was next in line? Do they go and join Bill Gates in hell? No. Nobody, not even Bill Gates, goes to hell. What they do is they incarnate again, but not on this planet, on a planet that's reverberating at a lower level, like the Earth is right now some of the time. They go there. Now, within that, there might be a person, it might be a lady or a gentleman that was next in line, that was one word off joining us. Well, they'll probably just live one life, get that last little bit done, and they come back. So I want people to understand that this is not the division of humanity. It's not the separation of humanity. It's a time for those that got it wrong, and we've been here for a long time trying to get this right. And remember, all the beings on this planet today, the ones who've incarnated, nearly all of them, have failed the test every other time. So this is not the top of the class we're dealing with. I hate to say this, but we are more around the 7F and 7G class that's left behind. The ones who are still in that class, they go to primary school again. And when they get those last things right, they come back. So what we've got to understand is, this is not the sort of scriptures, the sort of traditional scriptures of heaven and hell. It's not like that, because that doesn't exist. You as a soul exist forever, and you will continue to exist, but you will continue to exist somewhere else. And the other part of this deal is, the reason why all of the alien groups have taken such an interest on this planet is because when this planet started to heal itself, that vibration spread throughout the cosmos.
Well, it already has with Mars and Neptune and
look, that's
one I think too.
Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and Mars all have had major impact effects from that conjunction. Now, that information comes from NASA. Now, most people think, oh, that's ridiculous. How can two gas planets, when they line up, affect us on this planet here? And a lot of people have said, I can't see that happening. And what we've said to them is, if you can't see that happening, why is it Pluto's atmosphere has decreased by 80%. Why is it that, is it Neptune? Yes, Neptune is now spinning the other way and has two massive clouds that weren't there 3 months ago. Where did they come from? Why is it now Uranus is absolutely pouring out X-ray energy and never did it before? All of these things I'm telling you about have happened since the 21st of December. Why is it Mars its axis has shifted, according to NASA, 4 inches? Now, people would say 4 inches isn't much. I would say to them, you go to Mars and push it and see how far you go on your own. If it moves 4 inches at once, something massive took place. And why is it? The 2 or 3 days after the 21st of December, the Earth had the largest 2 earthquakes ever measured. San Francisco was 9. Chile was 9.2. The 2 earthquakes, which were 1 minute apart, 2 days after, were 9.6 followed by 9.7. That was in Antarctica. Now, why did all this happen around the same time that these 2 planets align? It seems to me, if you go to the far edge, which is, well, Jupiter, Pluto's not actually a planet now. They've kicked it out, haven't they? A mini planet. Whatever. 4/5 of its atmosphere has disappeared. Why is it that Neptune now has 2 massive clouds on it? Never had it before, and they're both going the wrong way. NASA has said they're not going the right way. It's supposed to be spinning that way, but the clouds are going the opposite way. These are amazing events that have taken place in our solar system since the 21st of December. So when people think, oh, why would this affect everyone? It affected all of us in different ways. And here we are. We've got a ring of fire. No, that's not where the earthquake was. It was in Antarctica, of all places. And it was 9.7 and 9.6, and that's nearly double what Chile is. In fact, if that happened on any city on this planet, it would be wiped out entirely. Not a building would stand. Now, that all happened because of that alignment. So don't tell me. And by the way, remember this. They said, oh, there was a similar alignment, and I think it was 12/22. No, there wasn't. The solstice wasn't on at the same time, 2 hours apart. That adds to that. You've got the sun and the moon in one direction, and you've got 2 planets on the other direction, and we're in the middle. So it's no surprise that something major happened in a physical sense. Now, the other part, we can prove all that. Now, the part about the fast-flowing river, just remember one thing. That comes from the Hopi, and they know more about the past than any of our scientists or historians. On this particular ceremony at Uluru, 9 years of ceremonies led up to that one. And as you know, Kerry, on that day and the day after, for the first time ever, the rock was closed. And in fact, it was closed at 10 o'clock on the morning of the 21st, and people were there, and they were shown the door, kicked out, and no one was allowed in for 2 days. So you're telling me something weird didn't happen there? I've heard the reason they've given for it. It was a lie. It was said, oh, because there were too many tourists there. They were there the day before and the day before and the day before. Didn't make any difference then. It was done because they did their ceremony there. So what do you believe? You've either got to believe the fact that all these indigenous people around the world do know something after all, or maybe you want to invest in the other mob, the ones we've got at the moment that know nothing about this planet. So this is a time where each person has to make a choice. And I've got to make a point that what we're offering is a maybe. We can't prove it. What they're offering is definite. They're definitely offering you COVID. They're definitely offering you wars that are going to come place. They're definitely offering you.
There's a nice little one brewing in the Middle East at the moment.
Yes, they're definitely offering all that for you. That's been doing that for a long time, and it's real and it's present. What you've got to ask yourself, is this where I want to live?
Mm.
And that's what you've got to make a decision. And if you say this is wrong, you get a ticket to ride.
Yeah.
And if you say, I'm happy with this and I'll put up with it, you get a ticket to leave.
Let's really explore this. I'm going to come over to Evan as a fellow psychologist. Evan, why would people choose, let's call it the lower road, even though there is no good, bad, right, wrong? From a higher perspective, everyone's exactly where they need to be on the continuum of consciousness. sometimes, we know in our own life we've had to bang our head against the proverbial brick wall until we've woken ourselves up. It's only when our behaviour becomes so bad or the pressure becomes so intense that we have an awakening point. So we understand the journey. But from a psychological perspective, what's going on with people? Why would they choose to continue to be enslaved? Or as Steve so beautifully said, this other mob who's guaranteeing us the wars and the restrictions and the mask and the jabs and, let's throw it all in the mix. What's going on?
I guess it's comfort with familiarity. So it's they've done it before. They know what it's like. And it also comes back to our adaptability. We'll put up with just about anything. But we seem to be very scared of change. So sometimes it's easier to just stay in the boat you're in and just go, oh, well, I'll survive this long. Just seeing, even in a micro level, when you look at a workplace situation where things aren't great and then someone comes in and tries to change that, there's actually a lot of resistance from people that want change because they're like, well, I've put up with it for 20 years. So, yeah, it's not great, but I'm tough. So we'll just keep doing this. And it's always boggled my mind. I'm like, why not take the change and try to make things better, whether it be in a workplace situation or the whole world? Why not try and then, give it a best shot? But, yeah, people are scared of that because it is a bit unknown. I mean, I know the few academics we do have inside talk to us, very, very subtly, and because they don't want their colleagues to know that they would even talk to us because they're that frightened of the ridicule of being looked at.
It's the herd mentality, isn't it? That it's safer within the herd. And yet, Steve, can you explain? I've got a question for you that I'm very curious about. So because we are the microcosm to the macrocosm, so all beings are affected by these huge activations that have happened. What then is going on for the ones that are choosing to stay, and I say it with love, choosing to stay asleep? What are they experiencing, and why therefore aren't they activating the way other people are activating?
What they'll experience is, as the human continues to pick up and continues to do this, they will experience unrest, sickness. And this is one of the reasons why COVID is around, all these things are around. It doesn't matter whether people believe in COVID or not. I've got to make this point because a lot of people don't. Out there in mainstream land, it exists. It's in the media, it's in their heads, and it doesn't matter past that point because now it's an implant. What this is about, and Evan's right, is we were told about this prophecy 5 years ago, and we were told there would be epidemics and pandemics. And we've been talking about this for years, and we said there'd be wars and everything. People would be made fearful. And that's the important part of this equation. You're asking why would people accept it? Evan loves a film called June, and there's a great line in it called Fear is the Mind Killer. And what it does is when you become fearful, you don't make decisions, you react. You don't plan, you respond, and you become reactive. You never become proactive because you can't think that far ahead, because every day you've got to think about it. They've created a situation on this planet now where we're scared of the air we breathe. We're scared of the sun because we might get cancer. We might get COVID from the air. We are scared of living. And the problem is now we could hide from death, but not with COVID, because it can come around the corner and the person you're talking to could have it and carry it. Well, no, it's been made, the narrative is brilliant, because what it means is people now won't shake hands with each other, which is a very important ritual for humans, touching. They won't touch each other, and they're divorcing every human from every other human and creating something different. Now, whether the jabs they put in add to that, well, that's debatable. It probably is, but it doesn't matter, because they're doing it in a psychological sense by making people fearful of each other and fearful of the air we breathe and fearful of what comes around every corner. And that becomes our life. And once you adopt that life, then it serves our masters perfectly, because honestly, from the top level, we are basically economic units that consume and then die, and we get more. That's how they regard us. They don't see a spiritual aspect to this. They see an economic aspect to it. And the fact right now that in Australia we're talking about, and people in the highest office, politicians are talking about going to war with China. What are the chances we'll defeat China in a war? Probably the same as me flying, none. But they're talking it up. That's fearful. That is fearful again. And what they're doing is they're creating a whole atmosphere now of COVID's going to be around forever. China's not very nice to us. We don't like them. There's terrorists around the corner. There's bugs around the corner. Everything is chaos.
And that's there's not ETs coming for us. It's all.
Oh well, yeah. It's possible. It is possible. People are saying they've only made this revelation so they can bung on a fake attack. And not that they ever do those sort of things. That's never happened before. All of it. Yeah. Remember this. All of this is desperation, because they now know that ceremony worked and the earth is healing itself. What they're trying to do is to make sure there's virtually no one left. They don't care. And someone said to me once, well, if the ceremonies worked, why would those who subscribe to evil continue doing this? I said, that's easy. It's very easy, because those that are locked into that lifestyle, that's all they can do. I can tell you, I've spoken to some of these spirits and they say very simply, this is what I do. I will continue doing it. That's just what I do.
Yeah, they'll continue doing it to the last moment.
To the last moment. And all they want to do is create as much mayhem and damage as they can. If they basically what they're saying is, if we can't stay here, we'll take them all with us. And then we'll be back later. Because they know there's a circle in this. This is a pause in reflection. You've got to remember one thing. The most important thing that exists in the cosmos is evil. It's more important than good. Because if there was no evil on this planet, there would be no test, no proof of the mettle of our soul and our integrity. Because it would be a wonderful scenic holiday. At the end, your creator would say, what did you learn? Oh, it's pretty. What else did you learn? It's still pretty. That's all you've got. I had a great holiday. I'm back here for a while, then I'll go back again.
The fjords were nice.
The fjords, that's right.
Going back to Douglas Adams.
Yeah, the fjords are beautiful. Oh, yeah, we've got to report for that.
I love that. I always say we wanted to create the old. We scripted this whole galactic story. We chose to have the ultimate opponent so we could activate. It's exquisite and beautiful.
Indigenous people don't call what we call evil, evil.
Yeah.
They just call it the opposite. Because here's the point. And evil makes a very valid point, if you can give it a sort of an amorphic sort of form. It says this, I present evil to you. I don't force you to take it. I knock at the door. And evil says basically this, my job, it's a bit like a game of chess. There's black and white, man. If one group don't play, there's no game. And it's the same thing here. I play the move, but you have to accept that move. And if you don't want to, you don't have to just close the door. I'm just knocking on the door all the time to find out whether you've got a weakness. And if you've got a weakness, then that is what I will work on. And if I work on it, you must thank me for it. Because if you improve it, then you become a better person for it. So we look upon evil as an opportunity. A lot of people look upon evil because they're scared of it. That's exactly what they want to create out of their existence. So it's a very complicated situation. But the issue is here on this planet, when they did this experiment, there was supposed to be a complete balance between evil and good. There isn't. Evil owns all the mechanisms now, whether it's the media, whether it's business, they run it at the highest level. Yes, people beneath aren't evil. I'm not saying that everyone in their business is evil. I'm saying the ones that run the show are, and we can't change that. That's why they're doing this. That's why the Pleiadians placed those crystals inside Uluru, because they thought this could always happen. Because we've got a choice all the way through, and we've made a lot of very bad choices. So here's the chance now for each person And every person at some stage or another will get a chance to make a decision about where they want to go. And the problem is that what we can offer as an option, we can't prove it. It's a maybe. Then again, when we said the Uluru might be turned on, at no stage did we ever say we were sure it was going to happen. We made it clear to all 15 million people that all took a leap of faith by doing this. We said to them, we're not even sure there's going to be a ceremony there. We're not even sure it's going to work. And you were there for one of the many hiccups we had on the way through there. It was constant. It went on for 6 months non-stop, every way possible to block this. So it is going to happen. But who's going to be there? Well, that's the next part of this trick, isn't it? And that's what shows like yours are about. And what we're trying to do with our online conferences is to keep this going and to spread this information. Because my understanding is this isn't going to finish in a decade. It's going to be much, much shorter than that. Time is running out on a daily basis. And don't worry, as each day passes, you will find this planet will be manipulated to become more fearful. What's going to happen is if you don't get that vaccine, you won't be able to go to certain places. You won't be able to travel. You won't get things. You will become a leper. You will become a leper in your society, and people will look down upon you and sneer at you and make comments because you didn't take the jab. That is what this place is going to become. And I've noticed now that Spain have already done it. They've now said, if you want to come to Spain, I want the tattoo on. Oh, that's the Nazis did the tattoo on their arm for the Jews, didn't they? Sorry, I don't know how I got the two mixed up.
We might have a nice little...
No, a green card. It's a green card. You carry a green card. If you don't have the green card or the biochip, you can't come to Spain. They have started that. You will find that every country is going to get on board. And as the months go on, those that don't take the jab will be considered reprehensible because they're damaging the old people, aren't they? Mm. Of course, what they haven't told you is when you do take the jab, you'll still get it and you can still pass it on. They won't tell you that part of the equation, but that's true. That's the science of what they're offering you. But out there in mainstream, 95% of the people out there, even though they've said it, they can't hear it anymore because they're too fearful. They believe once I take the jab, I can't get it. I'm fine. I'm okay. I can go where I want. The whole world's going to be great. And they believe it. Well, you believe it, but you actually made a narrative. They didn't even say, but they let it go. They'll put out an announcement every now and then. They'll put out an announcement to say, oh, by the way, you'll still catch it, but it won't be as bad. And you can still pass it on and you can still carry it.
I found the whole quote from June, so I have to read it.
Oh, okay.
I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it is gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I remain.
Beautiful. Wow.
Wow.
And he wrote that in the 60s, I think.
It's funny how science fiction is often science fact, and this one's actually science fantasy.
Yeah, we download the information from somewhere. These people from the past have had insight. They are in communion with something higher, we might call it, even though it's aspects of ourselves in a multidimensional sense or our future timelines, however you want to frame it. But we know what we know. The mystics, the psychics, the healers, the way showers, the grid workers, the original people, they are the leaders at the moment of this higher road, let's call it. So if the dark gets darker, the light gets lighter because we're in a realm of polarity here in the third dimension.
Yes.
So there really is no fear here. There's a great comment that came through before about, once you bypass fear, you just remain in a state of grace, in a state of true connection. And there's been so much activation for us, particularly through 2020, that en masse we have this opportunity to move forward as one stream of consciousness into the fifth dimensional frequency, into an unconditional realm. There's many different terms that we could use for that frequency is the best way to describe it. I'm not going to say we're going to get in a light ship and go to another planet. Many people see it as the planet splitting into two, some people being reborn in a third dimensional planet, other people moving with Mother Gaia herself into that fifth dimensional frequency. How would you describe it, Steve? Because
that's a good question. I was just thinking about when you said that, and I'm thinking, yeah, that could be right. Yeah, that could be right. I would describe it like this. I can visualize everything up until this final piece, okay? When the Earth, whether the Earth just shoots up to this massive vibration at one particular moment, or whether there's two vibrations and one disappears and it goes, I don't know. You see, all of the elders and all the stuff we got was all about leading up to. There was never, I mean, there was talk about what happened after, but it was all maybe, and I'm not sure. So my answer would have to be, I can't really visualize what is going to take place other than everything else that I was unsure about has happened. And I'm starting to feel like, well, all the other things have happened. It just must run through there. I do know one thing. I do believe the only thing I can say is that the ones who leave from this planet leave for a while. And they go and learn the lessons elsewhere and then come back. Whether they all come back later, whether they go to a different dimension, whether the Earth now, instead of like in quantum physics where they say there's 11 dimensions, there becomes 12. And they may live in a parallel Earth alongside us and it may split. I can't answer those questions because, let's be honest, I think there's not a human mind on this planet that is large enough to sort of absorb all the mysteries of this planet and of the universe. It's too hard. What you've got to do, my only piece of suggestion would be, is to maintain faith that it will happen, but try not to work out what it is, because I don't think we can. What the Hoppy said about the fast-flowing river, jump into it, celebrate the people who are there with you, and then throw the seeds out, the seed dreaming, telling anyone you know, your family, the people who make fun of you because you believe in this sort of stuff, you put those seeds out anyway, because that's what you're obliged to do. That is our role. I think our role for people individually is this, that when they hear a conversation about COVID, walk in on that conversation and steer it into the light. Because when they talk about it, they're actually calling it up. Whether it exists or not doesn't matter. They're calling up the negativity and they're placing it inside their head. And every word they say, and remember this, we prove something. We prove that thoughts have an energy, because the Earth increased itself 100-fold because people turned it on. Whether you say the thought or think the thought, it still has the same energy. So when people start talking about this negativity, what they're doing is they're putting their hand up and saying, I wish to walk down that road. And that road is not the road the Hoppy spoke about. That's the shoreline where they're hanging on desperately, trying not to fall into that river. That's not where they should go. I tend to feel like I like the Hoppy prophecy of the river. There's the shoreline and then there's the water. Which one do you want to stand on? It's up to you. What it looks like, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'll tell you, I'm not sure. I'm not even sure that I'm going there. I think we'll all find out at the same time. I think
Steve, you're leading it, darling. We know you're there.
Oh,
You're up front.
I know you. I know me better than most people, and there's a lot of loose ends still to fix up that I'm working on. But
all of us.
What I can say is this, that I think it's right that the only way there is through faith. I didn't want the big flying UFO over the top. We got one, but there's an out for them. They can say it was a special ops thing that was doing, or something like that, or a weather balloon that went this way slowly, or something like that. They'll find a way to explain away the UFO, and I'm glad they can, because then that still gives that element of faith and conviction in something because it's right. And what I would say to people is this. What we're saying is what we have at the moment is wrong. Acknowledge that as the first step. The solution, not sure. But we can give you a lot of circumstantial evidence we've put up on our website and we'll put up there that will give your rational mind something to feed on, to give it something to shut it up a bit. Then the next step past that is you can always find a way to dismiss everything we put up. You can say we photoshopped a lot of it. You could. It's a lie, but you could say it. I mean, with the Croatian one, you can't, because that Croatian column of light that we've shown people, that went viral on the internet in Croatia and was shown on national TV in Serbia and other Balkan countries, wasn't it? Yeah. So you can't display, you can't say that was...
Neither one of us can teleport, so we couldn't get there, take the photo.
No, you're not that good yet.
Yeah.
I had a friend in Hawaii. Yeah, I interviewed a friend in Hawaii straight afterwards. You know, Pele blew like in minutes of the activation. So through the dragon lines, the song lines, all the sacred portals were communicating with each other at that precise time. There's too much that went on.
Far too much. You've got that right.
Want to be skeptics, you know, bully for
you. Well, that's our job. That's
we'll
our
be
job.
over here in 5D dancing.
Well, that's why we put all that stuff up at the start. We're going to put up each time. We'll probably repeat 5 minutes what we've done, because we never repeat what we do in our presentations, but we have to keep repeating that, and we add things to it each time, because that's really important. If you see all those things, say to yourself, well, one maybe, two possibly, but hang on, you got 12 photographs here and they're all amazing. How many more do I need before I start to take it in? So what we're going to start doing now is, after we put up enough photographs, we're going to start reading out personal accounts of what people experienced on that day. And when you put it in context to all those photographs you've seen, you're not going to doubt it anymore. And you'll get a personal feeling for how people were moved at that particular moment. And what people have got to understand, that this is a sacred planet. And if you go back long enough, you'll find that there were magicians all over the planet doing the most amazing things, and things we've seen to this day. We've seen our elder do magic or miracles, whatever you want to call it. And he said it's normal.
We can all do it.
Yeah, I remember on one occasion, we've mentioned this many times, when he disappeared in front of us and Graham Hancock and everyone under the sun. And we came up and asked him, and he said, this is what everyone on this planet can do. I know where the curtain is and you don't, but it's there. Why can't you see it? And what he was saying then is, I remember one person called one of his miracle tricks, I think it was Wirichin, called it a party trick, didn't he?
Yep.
And I looked at him and thought, that's a bit rude. I thought, well, actually, what is disappearing? It doesn't make food. It is a party trick. But it's a party trick with a difference, because if you think about it, you say to yourself, how did that happen? And if I can do that, what else can I do? And then the story of magic starts to re-emerge. And that's what this planet used to be, a focal point for pure magic, because when you work with the planet, which gives off magic, you absorb it. When you fight against the planet, you get nothing. You get nothing, because you're not with the planet anymore. Well, the planet is now vibrating. It's picking up its vibration. It's getting higher. That's a fact. That's a scientific fact. We know that's true. We know that the Schumann resonance, I think, once peaked into the thousands, didn't it? For a couple of seconds, went into 6,000. If it had stayed there for 5-10 minutes, we'd all be dead. Because our souls at the moment, ladies and gentlemen, are not ready for this higher vibration. And that's why we've got some time. Because even the people who are aware and believing, that in itself doesn't give you that ticket to ride. You've got to do some cleaning inside your own head. And there's so many things you've got to clean up. And that's part of what we talk about in our conferences, because that's why I'm prepared to say, yeah, we know this is happening, but getting on that road, remember what they said, we are the ones we're waiting for. That's what the Hopi said. And that means that, and what they said is, you jump in that river on your own. They didn't say, wait for 10 people to go with you. They said, you go and then you meet the people there. You don't go with them. So each person, and I love the fact that we've got the UFO, but there's a question mark. And if you want to believe we faked, go for it. It's quite okay. You can believe that. If that makes you feel better and that suits where you're coming from, then you should believe it's a fake. See, again, even with the evidence we've got, You have the choice of accepting it or denying it. And that's the trick with this game. And really, when it comes down to it, if it isn't now, I've got a grandchild, and I can't even imagine when that grandchild is 50 what this planet will be like. It will be the worst you could imagine, then add to it. So really, from my point of view, I've got a choice of hell on earth or the potential of heaven on earth. It's as simple as that. I'll go with the potential and pass on the reality, because at the moment, the reality is we're going to get it worse. I don't want that. So it's everyone's call. You've got to make the decision, not us.
Steve, I really want to hone in and echo what you said about jumping in the river on our own. That's a very, very potent and vital point that we all must sit with, absorb, and know that we are capable of doing that. But for so long, we've had attachments and entanglements to each other, and we don't feel that we're ready just to dive in, but we're absolutely ready. And now is the time. I know my mum's here listening, and she's always taught me that exact same philosophy about not holding on to the riverbed, not gripping on with your fingernails, but like peeling them back and letting the rapids of the river take you where they need to go. And what you said about us all meeting there at the end of that particular journey, once you let go, once you dive in the river, I've got goosebumps, because that's what it's about. It is about our faith. It is about our knowing that we are God, Goddess incarnate here. We have all that we require. We are the light, activating the light. We don't need, therefore, to have any empirical evidence of anything, even though kudos to beautiful souls like yourself who do the very hard work and the many, many hours to constantly bring us through the evidence, the science, the archaeology. We can't thank you enough for that. But ultimately, we must trust in ourselves, and we must be the ones that jump into that river.
That's it. There's a change ahead, but it's a change for each person to pick where they want to go next. And the difference this time is that there's a new marker marking the exam, and guess who it is? It's yourself. You will be the one that makes the final decision what you want to do, and no one else can do that for you. So really what this is about, and if you look at each of the mainstream religions, they'll talk about the golden age and the change. It's in every religion, It's not as if just held by the Mayans who believe in the two roads and the Hopi and stuff like that. It's in every religion on this planet. Every religion prophesied from Nostradamus down, there would be a massive change in everything. And it would be earth-shattering and earth-changing. So it's not as if we're making up a story that's been written everywhere. All we're saying is that the original people and the Hopi and the Inuit all said there was a change that was going to take place in Australia first, and it could happen. Well, it did. What happens next is really optional. You either tick the box or you put a cross there. And I'd like to sort of close to an extent with a question that was asked to me at the conference we went to. And I want to thank Mick and Catherine for putting the thing on, because I've got to tell you, they copped a lot of crap too. It bounced off us and went straight over to them, didn't it?
It was a lot of crap.
Oh, yeah.
So it's the Consciousness Conference, for those who don't know. Follow
that was on at the same time. And then some people made out that they profiteered off it. No, they booked that date a year and a half in advance. It was just coincidental. But at the end, a gentleman got up and said, I've got a family, and most of my family don't believe in what I'm doing. And I said, what can I do to change them, to get them on to this sign? And the answer was simple. It was a one-word answer. I said, nothing. I said, there's nothing you can do. This time round, each person's got accountable for themselves, and they're not accountable for anyone else. All you can do, and the only piece of advice I gave, was to tell them the truth. If they want information, they want facts, come to our website. They can find it all there, and it's free. Okay, it's already up there. Anything we put up is free first. And I said, and do that. And I said, but don't go back day after day and nag them. Do it once. And if the seed takes, then it does. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And there's nothing you can do about it. But remember this. Okay, you might separate from your family for a period of time. But you've got to remember one thing. Your soul's eternal. If you separate for 1,000 years, what is that in the great scale of things? It's a couple of seconds. They'll be back. And if they screw up, I don't know what happens next time. I don't know that part. I just know this is a reset time where good has the right to dominate evil for a period of time. Then we get the balance right again. But it's a time where those that are subscribed to what people use the word evil, they have to leave for a while. So the earth can recover and the people who've got the right idea can flourish. And that's what this is all about. And the ones who can't flourish for now, we wish them well. We don't say bad things about them because they made a bad choice, because that's their decision, not ours, and none of our business. We wish them well and hope that one day they'll be back soon. It's just a separation, and the earth needs it. Yeah.
Beautiful. I was shown last year, and this could be another way this bifurcation will happen. I was shown that those who move into a fifth dimensional frequency simply won't be seen by those in a third dimensional frequency.
Yeah,
so
I think you're right.
together. Yeah, that's what I was shown. So we will be here together.
I
They simply
think
won't
you're
perceive
close.
us. Their technology won't perceive us because we'll be more in a light body, even though we'll still be in a physical body. And I believe that's, for the first time in the galactic history, we're maintaining our physical body as we shift into fifth dimension. And it's been said that Gaia herself is maintaining her celestial body moving into fifth dimension. So they simply won't have the technology to perceive us. And for those who are more interested in that kind of philosophy, what was interesting, after I had that download, I then saw the Celestine Prophecy movie, and I had read the book some 20 odd years ago and forgotten. It was planted obviously in my consciousness, but I'd forgotten, and it depicts it in the end of that movie that you just can't be seen, that your frequency won't be picked up by those in a denser vibration. So for those who are experiencing fear, are they going to get us? Remember, if they can't see you, they can't see you, and you're free to live your life.
I like that.
That's not bad, because I had the suspicion that you faded from sight, and sometimes you could glimpse them from the corner of your eye just for a fraction of a second as their vibration sent them off somewhere else. I had that same sort of intuition, but I can't say I've been told that. But I agree with you. I just feel like it's just a vanish. It's not a painful. It's a very elegant way of cleaning the planet, where it's just 1 minute you're there and the next minute I can't see you anymore. And they may well be living still on this planet, but Gaia might have lifted up and it might have just left that shell behind. I don't know where they go next, and that could be the way it happens. That's the beauty of this. What we can do is just philosophize, we can discuss it, but in the long run, it still comes down, like we said, you make that decision and then the other people make their own. And those that come with us, and the ones that don't, we wish them well.
Yeah, beautiful, Steve and Evan. Love you guys so much. It's enlightening, honestly, being in your online presence, but I can tune into your energy even though we're online. But, always listening.
Always a pleasure.
To this. Yeah. So I'll just pop up. There's so many beautiful comments still coming in, so I'm not going to get them all up. But let me just finally, again, pop up the website here. Make sure you go and get your tickets. Don't hesitate, guys. Go and get your tickets. I believe it's only $26, Evan. Is that correct?
It is correct.
And remember, can I make this point? The money we receive is shared equally with everyone involved. We don't have, this is tribal, new way. Old way, the people who arrange it take most of it. And I'm not having to go with the people who arrange it because everyone else has got to book halls and all sorts of stuff. We don't have to book anything. So you might think $26 is a lot of money, which it isn't, to be honest. But if you're worried about that, remember that many of our guests are elders. And I can tell you, they really, really appreciate getting some money, because most original people don't get much money. So yes, we do charge money. Some people say, why don't we do it for free? One of the main reasons is most of the people we're working with who do get money really need it. And that keeps them working. And it keeps us working too, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. So, yes, $26. We're going to keep doing it. We've got this one coming up. Then we've got one each month at the end of each month again.
The next one after this one's also available as well.
Yeah.
And then we've got workshops coming up as well.
Yeah, and what we're going to do from now on, for the next 3 or 4 months, I've asked all our presenters to present their information. I've chosen ones who can do this so that this would become the curriculum for our students in the future, because I'm a teacher. And my concern was that the education system is creating the mess we have today. We have to change the education system first. So as a result of that, we're putting together, like Paul Wallace is coming up, not this one, the next one. And I've asked him to turn his book into a curriculum for me and pick 5 concepts the kids should learn. So I'm going to be asking people, we're looking at the change, what comes next. And we're going to be asking people that present things to present it in a way that would be what our children learn in the future. Because honestly, the education system we have at the moment has turned into one massive exam. And children only learn one thing now, what they're told to memorize. That is not education anymore. So much has got to change. They've got to be taught about magic. They've got to be taught about all sorts of things they don't know at the moment. So we're going to, for the next 3 months, all our presenters are asked to present it in a way that looks very much like, what am I doing in year 11 in school here again? Oh, well, that's the topic we're doing today. So we're going to start doing that a bit. And sort of, we'll still do our archaeology and stuff like that, but some of our presenters, I know Alan Parsons, Uncle Alan Parsons, an original man, he's coming up next. He'll be doing that. And we'll do that all the way through. Yeah, we've got a workshop with Lionel Launch. He's brilliant. You should watch that one. Evan's going down and they're going to film some stuff he's done on country. It won't be what we've done the other time. And he's going to actually take us through the bush and talk about old way stuff. And this guy is brilliant at it. So that's something completely different again we're going to start doing. All the same thing, to prepare for our future and to prepare for our children. And our children, honestly, when I started teaching, I was taught to teach the children how to ask questions. That's how I started teaching. And then I watched over the years when NAPLAN came in and other tests came in. And now our children, during the time they go there, all they ever get are exams and questions. And the questions are about the answers they have to memorize. We do not educate our children anymore. We brainwash them. We have to bring their souls and minds back into one homogeneous piece. So that is one of our goals in what we're talking about next. But we're going to continue until that final day. And all I can say in closing is, ladies and gentlemen, the number of years we can count is on one hand, and that's easy. There's room on one hand. That's all I'm prepared to say. So we've got to get ready soon. Time's running out.
Beautiful, beautiful, Steve. Beautiful, Evan. Thank you, everyone who has put up the most wonderful comments as well. And I don't know how we've already got to over an hour and 20. Yeah, look at all the beautiful comments coming through. So we didn't even get to questions today, but we'll have you back. And
we'll do it later. Yeah. I'm happy to talk to you anytime, so we do it later. Yeah.
Awesome. Everyone get on now. OurAlienAncestry.net. Even if you can't join this weekend, you can watch the replay. That's an order from me coming at you. Don't let these beautiful souls down. All right.
Thanks so much.
We'll chat to you soon.
Okay, then. Thanks very much. Bye. We appreciate it every time. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Take care, guys.
We will. Okay.
Bye-bye. Bye.
She's nice. I like her. Yeah, we've met a few times.